Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Way of God's Remembrance with Michael Hayes, presented by Awake to Love. I'm Lee here with Cindy. We are the volunteer Zoom hosts, and we are so grateful that you are here. As a way of introduction, I will share Michael's words to bring clarity to the focus and the format of these weekly gatherings. This is a weekly gathering for those seeking greater awareness of their true nature. There are many paths and approaches to higher consciousness and to greater awakening to who we truly are. The essence, the truth of all these paths is more about remembering who we are and have always been, rather than becoming something different or more than we have seen ourselves to be. A way of God's remembrance goes to the heart, to the intention of all the paths. This is what we will explore each week. Michael will share thoughts and awarenesses that come forward as relevant and purposeful for our time together, followed by questions and answers related to what he shares about. We will begin with an invocation of light to help support us to be in collective alignment. And we would love for one of you to lead us in the light invocation. Please, if you are so inspired, would you raise your Zoom hand? Michael will select you for light invocation, and then please lead us in 3 Anai Hu chants. Anai Hu, sacred tones, Hu, ancient Sanskrit name for God, and Anai, evoking the quality of empathy and oneness with God.
Would anybody like to call on the light? David Stern. Turn on you need to unmute yourself, David.
It wouldn't allow me at first, so no problem. So, Father, Mother God, we ask for the clearing. We ask that any karma, negativity, disease, imbalance that can be lifted at this time be cleared from us, and that all these spaces be filled, surrounded, protected by the light of the Christ and the Holy Spirit, mystical traveler and preceptor. And we ask that we awaken more to the remembrance of the divine, of the Lord that we are. And we just place this whole meeting and our aspiration for spiritual awakening and for all others that are seeking that in the light highest good. And God bless us. Anai.
Anahu. 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 Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all and to be present in this consciousness of loving and caring and remembering. And there's joy in me tonight as I experience the hunger and the calling in so many people to come awake, to come conscious, to become present, not only with the Spirit, but as the Spirit. And I invite each one of you to realize that it is your true nature, that you are the Spirit, that you come out of the Godhead, and that you're coming out of the Godhead is more a perception of coming out of the Godhead than the truth. You never really leave it. You're always in connection. So probably what I just shared there is probably the crux of everything that what I've learned and want to share with people is connected to. But to get it as information is fine, but to get it as experience is divine. So let's get the divine. There's an angel, an angelic form that's with me tonight, and I'm going to be expressing in alignment with that angelic presence, which is it's a new one for me. Not really new, but new for it to come in to support me like this. So I'm as interested as maybe as you are to see what happens. So the first call of spirit is always to come to itself. Calls back to itself all elements of itself that have gone into the exploration of individuation, of the singleness of the solitary life that we tend to believe is real when we're playing in this game of time and space. It is the instruction of spirit through the process of participating in this life that is the great gain for us in participating in this life. It is something that all are blessed to receive. And regardless of the choices they make in time and space, inevitably they will come to this learning, for it is foreordained that all shall partake of the learning and all shall partake of the remembrance, the coming back to the truth. The search that we go through in our consciousness is a process of selectivity where we investigate different paradigms, different processes, different approaches, different ways of seeing reality, relating to reality, connecting to reality. And then within that, we have different experiences of being controlled by different realities, different paradigms, different complexities that confuse us, that dazzle us, but ultimately inform us and instruct us. We must be prepared to be fooled, to be tricked, to be dismayed at the truth that we thought we were going in one direction, but we were really going into something else. This is perpetrated to our best interest, though it never seems that way when we're in it. We're always just more conscious of that feeling of foolishness and the bemoaning of our fate, that the path we thought that was bringing us to true fulfillment often is a chimera, an illusion, a mirage that evaporates for us almost in the moment we're about to receive of it. In our great thirst, we build up such a desire to quench that thirst. And then poof, that source of relief is gone. And we despair even more. All along, the messaging is coming to us from deep within. You can quench your thirst anytime you want. Just turn within and remember that you live in the fountain of love itself. And that fountain will fill you and transform all that would disguise itself and fool you into a revelation of its true nature as illusion, and it will drop away. You are called into the dance of life, but the partner that you feel like is always rejecting you and disappointing you is not your true partner. That's the partner of the one that fools us in the perceiving. That's the partner we think of as the negativity. But while we're engaged in this, its power is such that we're seduced, and it is right and so that this is true. But there is a consciousness that's always in remembrance, that is always in contact with the truth of the oneness of God, the oneness of all, the oneness of all as love. That consciousness we often call the mystical traveler consciousness, but it's been called many other things in many other times. And you can call to it or refer to it by any title or name you wish to do, but just know that the naming of it is irrelevant. The experience of it is everything. It manifests into creation not as a singularity, but as a totality, and sense it is no one. It is nothing, meaning no thing. And yet, for us to have a full access to it, there will be places within this earth where it will concentrate itself to make it more available to us who are dwelling in illusion, more in contact with it, that we might sense its presence and make a connection. And those that do this are often referred to as masters or travelers or any other name we could call them. But in truth, what they are is their link to this that is beyond all limitation, beyond all doubt. And it moves in each consciousness, each of us, as a living force, a loving force, as a transmuting force, as an ascending force, as an evolving force, a force that brings us into evolving, evolution. In this world, for a long time, our experiences here tend to be so repetitive that instead of evolving, we're just revolving. I mean, going through the same thing again and again. But eventually, through the dismay and the discouragement of all that, something breaks down in us. And what breaks down is our faith in the outcome of our searching, our faith in the outcome of our approach. And something in that breaking down of it sets us free. And that freedom that we're set into opens the door of possibility that we might be reconnected to this truth, to this thing that is always in remembrance. That its call, which is ever present, suddenly is something we can attune to, that we can sense. As we sense it and reach to it, it reaches to us. And the link is made. Like in the picture in the Sistine Chapel with Michelangelo painting God reaching down to man or to Adam. It's very similar in how it works. So each of us have been reaching to this, and it's been reaching back, and now it's reached not back just to us, but through us. And so it is alive in our consciousness and our being, reaching into the fullness of itself. And in the fullness of itself, it is reaching back into the particularization of itself in us. And this simultaneously is going on, this truth of it in us reaching to its totality and the totality of itself reaching into the singularity of us. And as it reaches into the singularity of us, it undoes that singularity. It frees us from the distortions of singularity, the distortions of this as truth, that we are this form, that we are this body, that we are the story that this body is portraying. It activates within the consciousness a call, like the siren call, calling us almost in madness, almost in desperation, to this awakening, to this truth, to this coming back, to this all-knowing source that lives, that breathes us, that activates all life to this singular intent. Our chance in this time is to fully partake of this. It's reaching to each of us in every second and every way that we might know and live and walk in the highest attunement possible. Jesus was the epitome of that, and his epitomization of it set an example for us. But he didn't set an example of a transcendent form beyond all life. He set an example of the transcendent form in all life. Hence, he demonstrated his surrender in the singularity of that consciousness into the totality of it, which is what our part of the whole thing is. That is in the totality of it in the awake, it is coming into all of us. When we return the action and come into it, we find the kingdom of heaven's at hand, and the blessings already are present. In this, we come alive and we come to truth, and we then receive then of the sacrament of God that is available in every instant to every soul. And as we absorb that, it sets us free even into the soul and beyond the soul. It is the angel food. It is the food of the divine. It is the manna from heaven. It is that allows us to bask in the radiance of God and to be fulfilled in every way, in any way, always. Everyone is here to this purpose. Not one soul is denied this. Not one soul is excluded from it. It is entirely available, entirely. Every moment, every day, God sings its song. And that song is so beautiful and so powerful and so completely absorbing that it goes into creation, animates all existence. And all existence resonates in a reverberation in response to that primal tone of God. We often call that the sound current. And its vibration, its resonance is singing in each of you in this moment, singing out the possibility that each of you can know your source and can resonate in celebration of that source so that your life might be a resonant manifestation of this glorious sound, this glorious emanation of God's expression. Everyone has asked for this at some point in their existences, and every prayer will be answered and is answered. So let's answer our prayers in this day, that we might be at one with that which lives eternally in us and through us and for us. It is so and it is done. Amen. Okay, now we're going to go to Lee, and he's got a few timely messages for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. First, I'm going to see if I can speak. Next, I'm going to thank you for the eloquence with which you speak the truth. What a blessing, and a blessing that this is being recorded so that we can partake in what you just shared again, and many can come and join via the archive in the blessings. I am here now to share guidelines for questions, question and answer time. Questions are about a way of God's remembrance and what Michael has shared. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your Zoom hand. You can find that by hovering near the bottom of your Zoom screen. Click on the react icon, pop-up appears, click on raise hand, and voila, it will be done. Please, if you'd like to ask a question, would you turn on your video for full participation? And if you're on a low bandwidth connection and are not able to do that, so be it. Most important, please do not ask personal questions and do not ask Michael for assistance with clearing, though many of us have been blessed through many years with Michael's assistance in doing that. Questions are for your benefit, the benefit of those of us gathered, and the benefit of those who will participate via the archives. I had an inspiration to share as you make this evaluation of if it's aligned to ask a question, and that is to please consult the integrity of your intention before asking a question. And thank you for your cooperation. Finally, the legal consent. By raising your hand and asking questions of Michael, you are giving full consent to Awake to Love to make the audio and video of this gathering, including your sharing, available as online archives for anyone to access. Please do not raise your hand and do not share unless you are in full agreement. Thank you. Okay, Michael, some beautiful people have already raised their Zoom hands. You should see them across the top of your screen. And as you select, we will unmute and spotlight them for you.
We'll do Gary and Robin.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah.
our camera's not working.
Oh, all right. Go ahead.
Okay, I've noticed there's all kinds of interesting things happening across the planet with angels and UFOs and all kinds of ghost sightings. I was wondering, since Alicia said that the veil between the angelic and the physical is thinner, does that mean that the veil between the other dimensions are thinner as well?
I don't know. I haven't looked at all the dimensions, but there is more spiritual energy than ever coming onto the planet, which is opening up the doors of perception into pretty much every dimension of reality. So probably yes, which is pretty neat, actually. So all I would say is take advantage of it. Remember, there's lots of distortion out there too. So when things get a lot more available to be seen, we have to recognize that there are plenty of things that want to be seen. And there's those things that would be really valuable for us to see, and they're not always the same. So within all that, you've got to check everything out. And because a lot of people are seeing a lot of things that aren't actually there. And a lot of people are seeing more of the things that have always been there. So I think the answer is yes. There is a greater availability for those things. And there's more spiritual support for people to activate their levels of awakening and awareness, which is a beautiful thing, which it fits the time for sure.
So I've been trying to, let me see, how do I say this? Remembering to do more light columns. It seems like I think of it as like a stairway to heaven. Is that something that would be
Sure,
helpful?
you can, sure. You could see it as a stairway to heaven if you want. I would say it as more like a flashlight so you can see the stairway to heaven. I
Okay.
look at light columns as helping us to be more aware and awake. A lot of people have this idea that a lot of the light columns or even our spiritual exercises actually take us to heaven, but mostly what they really do is they help us be aware. If the kingdom of heaven is at hand and the blessings already are, and I believe that's true, then heaven's already here. So these tools are just helping us become conscious of what is so. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Bless you. Bless you. We'll do Jan.
Jan Shepherd, please.
Hey,
Great.
okay, Michael, I'm trying to do the camera. Hold
Yeah.
on.
It's always
Okay.
something.
I just really want to share two things, mainly because I don't always hear the words, but the energy that has been coming through from this session and the sessions that I listened to, not when the two of you were doing it, but last time, has just been so amazing that I just want to honor that because I'm not a big word person, and I really actually it's in the silence when the love comes.
Yeah.
So I just want to just say thank you. And that's Pookie.
Yeah.
And just say that when I used to sit with JR, what I
Yeah.
would do is be quiet while everyone was like asking questions and just bask in the energy.
Right.
And that's what I'm experiencing.
Mm.
So, whatever that energy is,
Well, I think it's great that you're receiving it and recognizing what's going on, because it is going on. And I'm not doing it. I'm just supporting it to come through.
I understand you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I love about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's whatever the energy is going on right now, when whatever it is. Here, I'm going to let Pookie show his face because
That's fine.
it's kind of like, hello.
No, that's pure love, pure love. We love it.
Yeah. You know, someone stopped us on the walk today, Timothy. We're walking, and he says, "You know, when you go to See's Candy and they give you a piece of candy, that's what Pookie is to me." So
I would relate. I
yeah.
would relate.
So
I've got 2 little dogs myself.
yeah,
Well, and thank you for your sharing, and I'm glad you're here to receive this, and
and
your
you know,
capacity to receive this is very great. So
and I just wanted to acknowledge it because whatever the words are that you say, it's lovely for people, but I'm an I'm here to experience the energy, like when I sat,
me
you know.
too. Me too. And when I sat with Jer all those years, you didn't hear me ask him a lot of questions either. It
So
was always about the energy, and my impetus to do this is very much from him in the spirit
yeah,
of all the direct requests.
and you know, it's about remembering to the energy, and God bless us all. And I think that that's what we're all here doing right now for the planet.
Bless you.
Bless you
Nice
too.
to see you again, sweetheart. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, hun.
Um, we'll do Deanna. I think she was the third person I saw.
Hi, Michael,
Hi, Deanna.
for doing this. It's just so beautiful. Thank you. I have a question about knowing more about the divine unknowing and anything you might say about that.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird way to say divine unknowing, because we want to know the divine. But
Yeah.
the divine unknowing, it's really what's happening is you're getting beyond the your individuality that's attempting to know. See, as long as you are trying to know God, there's a separation.
Mhm.
But in truth, your true nature is not this body or the story of this body for any of us. Your true nature is that you are pure consciousness that is of God, that has gone into this field of individuation, this field of time and space, to have a very unique experience. And the divine unknowing is really, it's almost like what happens is instead of you looking at God, you let God look at you, look through it. So you release yourself from the story of your individuation, the story of your particularization as form. And in that place, that knowing comes forward. And see, there's a lot of things we have as aptitudes, for example, as intuition. So intuition would be like, is really mostly where we as the soul are looking through the filter of one of the different dimensions, like through the astral body or the astral part of the aura, if you want to call it. We're getting a perception through there. That one, so we sense things, and that's so we have an intuitive sense, or we sense it through the causal level, the emotional body, and we have a sense. Maybe we sense it through the mental body of the aura, the mental body that the soul lives in or works in, and then we have another piece of information. That's often where we start to see spiritual readers, because the Akashic record is at the top of the causals. So if you're in the mental and you're seeing through that mental form, you get a look at that. And then maybe you see through the etheric form, which is more unconscious. So the soul's ability to see through that etheric and relate information. And that is all useful, but there's always a level of distortion on all of that. But if you can learn to see directly from the soul as the soul knows reality, that's when you start to get into the knowing. So with the unknowing is really freeing ourselves from all those other ways of perceiving to grant ourselves the opportunity to perceive as the soul perceives. If we get that, we're going to have a clarity and there'll be a truth to it. Big advantage of being able to perceive from that soulic perception is you not only will see what's going on, but you'll have an innate instruction inside about what to do with whatever information you get. When people get that information from the lower filters, like through the, let's say the mental body, they're getting it. They may see the Akashic record and see everything that happened, but they won't necessarily know what to do with it. They won't necessarily know what's important out of all that, because there could be billions of pieces of information. So which ones matter? So the divine unknowing is really the I don't know place. And for me, coming into that was just this process when I started working long ago, that I would just find myself hitting this place of blankness, and I go kind of still inside, and I just go, I don't know. As soon as I said that, I knew. And it kept happening over and over again. I suddenly realized, oh, it's in me really giving up the me that needs to know or pretends to know and demands to know and just be willing to be there blank. Suddenly the knowing appeared. So for you, will work very similarly, I'm sure. It's the, I don't know, and really be quite content in that. Now, our egos don't like that. Minds don't like that. Often in the world, there's an expectation we're supposed to know. But see, what we're really going for in the knowing is a knowing of our source. We call it God or spirit, the soul. And so when we're in the divine unknowing, we're becoming one in our availability to that is transcendent, that is beyond time and space, that is beyond the magnetism, that is actually non-magnetic in its nature. When we get into that place, it just comes through. And it's very, very spontaneous. That's one of the real keys about that. Usually when we're trying to know something, our mind will get involved and we'll become very calculating and trying to figure it out, and then try to express or how to say it. But in the divine unknowing, when you're really in it, the way to be most in it, it'll just come forward very spontaneously. It'll just come forward like, um, it'll come forward as like a stream.
Mm.
So how do we let that stream flow? We get out of the way. We get out of the way by getting out of the demand that we have to know. We're supposed to control this. We're supposed to somehow assert our personal opinion or personal desires into what comes out to get it to be what we want. Plenty of people are good at doing that, but it's not truly the divine unknowing. You could be psychic and do it like that, and you're combining intuition with mind in most cases. There's a lot of people that are very good at that, where they'll get a hit and the hit has a lot of accuracy in it, but then they'll start to lay it out and they'll be saying what they think that all meant. And that often is problematic. Still could be very valuable and still might be right on, but it could be way off. So biggest key I would say is relax into it. It comes to us in just the quietness.
Mm.
I think when Jan was talking about, she talked about the silence. It's found in that place. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Bless you. All right, let me see who we've got here. Bunch of hands, bunch of people. I have to go and scroll because I can't see any names. No, I've got it. Well, let's do Mavi. Hola, hola chica.
A ver, ¿cómo le hago para activar el sonido? Ujú. Can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, Mavi, it's been a while.
Thanks for taking me. I was wondering if it was Mavi, my mother, or Mavi, me, and I said, it must be me.
It is you.
So thank you. Uh, my question, Michael, is let's see if I can put this in order. I see every day more people seeking the light in a way or the other, in a general, in an individual way. And at the same time, we all, and I see all this negativity in the world. Is there um, a communication between negativity and this? What I'm trying to say is the more you seek, the more you're going to be attacked individually and collectively by negativity. Does it have something to do what is going on as a world awakening right now? It seems like in a personal way, the more I feel connected with the light, with the goodness, with the love, with my true honest intentions, the more I'm being attacked. And I see it as a general also. Is there an answer and response to that? Or I don't know if I'm making any sense.
I hear you. I'll tell you what I experienced with all that.
Mm-hmm,
I've said this before. I'll say it again. In the spirit world, the Christ is meditating the world awake.
mm-hmm,
It's literally the logos of the planet, the nature of the planet, and all the beings on it are being saturated more and more with a higher frequency. The process of that going on is pushing out of the earth a lot of frequencies, a lot of energies, a lot of darkness and negativity is kind of pushed out. Where they say you cannot put the new wine in the old skin, it means it kind of flushes out the old. So if you had a dirty cup, you start pouring the water in, it pushes out the crud until it's clean. So a lot of things are coming up. A lot of things are coming up trying to resist and stop this greater consciousness of light saturating the world, but also all of us. But it is an inevitability that the greater light will push out the darkness. Along the way, it can sometimes get dramatic and get ugly because one of the ways that negativity most binds people to it is through creating fear in them. And it creates fear in people most readily by creating a strong activation in their lower chakras. So the root chakra down at the base of the spine wants certainty, security, stability, and safety. So you threaten that, and people's consciousness leaves those higher centers and their meditation goes right down to their root and goes, oh no, what? Well, I want to be certain. I want to be safe. I want to be secure. I want stability. I want all those things. So negativity tries to create the belief in our consciousness that we need to be very concerned about those things. And being very concerned about them, we need to focus upon those things. And in focusing on those things, we need to forget about all that spiritual other stuff because we need to make sure we're going to be okay.
okay,
So
so
that's the
trying to
game.
okay. Um, would there be some advice that you could give
Yes.
us,
Yeah.
give me?
Choose the higher regardless.
Okay.
Regardless, even if you have all this impetus to go into your lower centers and the fear and the worry and all those things, take that time uh, and set the intent to connect into the higher, connect into the Christ, connect into the traveler, connect in to the Holy Spirit, connect into the great angels, connect into the masters of the brotherhoods that are all holding a higher focus, and connect into those. And that connection to those will help offset the pull and the power of that which would lock you in your lower chakras. You'll still be aware of the lower chakras, they just won't run you, which means you'll be able to have a higher perspective to counteract this other distorted perspective. Now, the advantage we have right now is that that higher perspective is more available in an easy way for everyone than it's ever been. And it's more available in a greater way for those that are really ready to have the fullness of it, which is a lot of what today is about. For those ready for the fullness of it, it's offered in a very undiluted way. So you take advantage of that and you go daily to that and connect to that and build a normalcy inside of you where you're, in a sense, walking in the heavens while you still are attending to the earth, rather than attending to the earth and once in a while praying desperately for the heavens. So you get it reversed where your normalcy becomes that high state, and that'll help carry you past those times when the lesser states are able to grab you or grab those around you. But all this drama we're seeing right now, I mean, a lot of it is just being perpetrated by the media. Are there a lot of things going on? Yeah, but things have always been going on here. People go, oh, these people are being killed. There's been genocides on this planet. You start looking at the history books, you go, well, we've had massive, what, half dozen genocides just in the last century. A lot bigger than what we're seeing in Ukraine or even the Gaza. Not that those aren't really significant problems, what's going on. The good news is all the attention going on is it's really pushing the question within each consciousness of what level of reality or what kind of world are they willing to live in and willing to accept. So in the long run, in a sense, all the press is good, but in the short run, it creates great trauma and drama in consciousness. And people tend to do very emotional, irrational things when they get very scared. But when you tap into the spirit and know its presence with you, it offsets all fear. You may still have the fear, but it's offset, meaning you're sitting there looking at the fear, you're not in it. This is Christ's purpose for you and for all of us. You were selected and you were connected. And
Okay.
you live in a world where there's a lot of fear. But in your
Yeah,
heart, you know the more, you know the greater. So choose the heart and live that. Love that. You'll be given the support you need. Just keep asking.
yes. Thank you, Michael. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Bless you, Maui. Take care.
Sometimes I think I'm going crazy because I just trust and trust and trust, and whatever happens, I see like I'm like, okay, I feel like if I was away or that it's not true, and I'm like, am I going crazy? But I'm seeing all these things, and I still feel so comfortable inside. So thanks, because it
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
exactly. Bless you, my friend.
Bless you,
Yep.
Michael. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Hey, Michael. I've been having, I've been wanting to have more of the experience that I hear you talking about, the remembrance of God, and including the traveler of Christ and the Holy Spirit. But I've been feeling disassociated, kind of like with, like, I don't have much of an ego stance right now, and it sounds like I'm on course for what you're talking about in terms of letting go of your story and all that. Although I do fight for it pretty regularly when I go into it, but
Sure.
I'm feeling this disassociation, and then on the other end of that is like this despondence about what's going on in the world.
Well, that's
So
a
I
big
want
distraction for you. So this world is not your home. So maybe pay more attention to where your real home is, which is not here in this planet. have a quick suggestion for you. Instead of reaching to know the Christ and the traveler, why don't you let the Christ and the traveler reach into you? Because they are. They're reaching back from the eternity and the infinity of God back through all the manifestation, offering access in consciousness to this highest truth. They're making it available for all consciousness that's ready to receive it. Now you have a receptivity to it, but you have a questioner inside of you. It's a karmic thing, questioning of anything and everything. A lot of it because you were duped before into different versions of salvation that were really different forms of magnetism that were paraded as the transcendent, which has been on this planet for a very long time. We are in a unique time, really, since the coming of Jesus, but it started a little before then, but it really flourished with Jesus, and now it's flourishing even more, where the doors are really flung right open, and this truth of the reality of the non-magnetic nature of reality of God and spirit is being made available in very great and immediate ways. And it's not requiring this huge translation through all these magnetic forms. It's being made available directly, but you got so tricked so many times, you said, I'm not going to get tricked again. So what happens is you've got this real doubting, skeptical place inside of you. Know what? I have that too, which is hard to believe with what I do. I was raised as an atheist. My dad was a scientist and engineer, and my mother, was the valedictorian and not quite as smart as him in some ways, but in other ways, with words, she was better. And so I grew up with the idea there was no God, none of this spiritual stuff. So the doubter is still with me, but I don't look at it as a bad thing because there's a lot of things that would fool us, like you were fooled in those other lives, and those things still exist in this creation, trying to trick us again into misperceiving some higher form of magnetism as the non-magnetic truth of God. So be patient with yourself. The more you have the experience of the non-magnetic, the more you'll be able to separate the chaff from the wheat and sense the difference in that. You'll sense it not so much by the sound and light show of phenomena, because you could have that from the non-magnetic could give you that, but also the magnetic light can give you great euphoria and great emotion and great drama and great visions and all that.
Yeah.
But the non-magnetic one really moves into you. It really moves in the consciousness as this deep knowing. And it's a knowing you can't justify and explain. I just know. What's your proof? It's just this thing inside me, this knowing inside me, this this presence of something that I recognize, that I know I'm part of, that I know I'm connected to. And it's working in you. So
Their behavior or an attitude that will open to that more?
you need to come more into the I don't know. The I don't know, and really be willing to surrender to that. But there's a fear in you being seen as not knowing, because there was a rebuke for you in the past when you weren't able to demonstrate that you were a learned, educated, studious, devoted person. And even your spiritual path was all about learning the knowledge. Learning the knowledge, learning the teachings, learning the Torah. You were Jewish. You were just learning all these sacred things, and there was just tremendous amount of material to learn. And the whole thing was, if you learn all this, then you'll get all this.
Yeah.
But it's never worked like that. It never will, because it's never in the book. The water's not in the water almanac. It comes from on high, and it rains upon us. And it rains upon us according to its design and its timing. So what you do then is you go, I receive. I don't know. And it's okay that I doubt. I doubt. I still doubt. I doubt what I do. And I keep doing it because the doubter doesn't go away. It hasn't for me, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because experience counts for more. And the experience of the living God, the living truth, the spirit that is orchestrating all this, that experience is transforming, transcending, and translating, meaning it translates that greater truth of reality into a place in us that can know it, receive it, and live it. And that's the call. Bless you, Kevin.
Thank you. Love
Thank
you.
you.
Light to everybody.
All right. I think next was Ronaldo.
Hi, Michael. Nice
Hey,
to
Ronaldo.
nice to see you and hear you. Love the sharing. Love what you're saying. Sort of free floating with it. You know, the first thought is that I heard a phrase the other day that I really resonated with. God is God is the fire and I'm the wood. Just that's I'll take that home
Yeah.
and be with that. But as you were sharing today, the thought that came in, and I wonder every so often, this notion of the rapture, and what I don't know if it's biblical at some point. It's at what point it mentions that, and the phrase something about there will be two workers in the field, and one will be plucked, and one will be left, and something about all of this taking place in the blink of an eye, which is a nice. It's kind of what we're talking about in many ways. So I kind of put that, let's say, that thought there. And if you have anything to share about that,
Well, the blink of an eye is really the truth of it. It's like I've had experiences where I'm in struggle with my consciousness, that the presence of the spirit is very strongly present, but something out of my unconscious is pushing back against that, fighting it, because it's to truly surrender to that greater consciousness of the spirit of God. It has a process inside of us as individuals where we are undone. Literally, our personal dynamic is broken down. And so it will cling to itself, cling to its storyline of reality, of it as reality. But I've been in times where it's been very difficult for me, and I've been in this terrible anguish, maybe for many hours. I can remember times 5, 6, 7 hours, and the whole time I'm just meditating and praying, and all of a sudden I'll get to what it is, and it'll go like, and all that anguish and despair is gone, like it was never there, gone, and this rapturous peace, this peace that surpasses understanding, is entirely present because it was always entirely present. Well, I was just distracted or waylaid by something else. What's the story? Saul was on the road to Damascus and a blinding light appeared and he was changed. Since the Spirit is always entirely present, awakening and what I call remembrance of that truth is always present and available. That's why I call a way of God's remembrance, because it's really like that. And when you come really fully into that consciousness, you will remember that you've always been there. It'll be so true. It'll be more true than anything else you know. It will be the truth of all reality. The great thing is it is your heritage. You will have it and you will know it and you will live it. And as you know it and you live it, you will give it, in that when you really have it, it will start to be something that comes out of you or from you that activates that experience in others who are ready to receive of that. And that's what's so neat about more people becoming more conscious in this. There's just more activators, more availability to it. With John Roger, we had somebody who was so aware. He was so in the remembrance that he never forgot it, that he was always in that space to be an activator. That's why people know him. We said, well, just sit there with him. I didn't have to ask him a question because it was activating a pearl of great price, that thing that is the everything, which is this remembrance. Because when you actively in the remembrance of God, there's nothing else you want or need. And if someone's activating that for you, you're complete. But as you get activated, you automatically will start to be an activator for others. And you will find more joy and more, just more fulfillment in that happening than anything else in your life. Because you've discovered that the only thing that really matters is the knowing of God. And to be used by God to help activate that experience in others is a sacred, glorious blessing. Bless you, my friend.
Thank you, Michael. God bless you too.
All right, we'll do one more. What hands? I only see one hand left on the top. All right, I guess it's going to be, I thought there was two hands, but I only see one. We'll do Karen Elliott, and this will be our last one. I can't hear you, Karen.
Okay. What came forward to ask, you spoke to a bit right now, and I just want to put it out there in the sense of what's the most graceful way when the ego is sort of trying to solicit its stories and problems and things back and, doing its sales pitch to be with that and not take it?
Good question. For me, it's just being worn down by the cause and effect experience of buying into the story of the ego and then gaining all the suffering that follows. And it's when John Rogers used to say, when you get sick and tired of being tired and sick, you'll change. So eventually it's a wearing out process. Now I'd like to say I was wise enough to see it right away and just learn to just always choose past it. But that wasn't me. I kept falling for the same trick. I felt like Charlie Brown going to kick the football again and again. But eventually it just the ego's game is primarily that it magnifies in us the illusion of sort of this path of becoming, the great path of becoming, this search that somehow we will create a life where we get everything we want. And see, for the ego, um, if you took the universe and you were standing on a planet and you looked out at the stars on the clearest night ever, and you're on the highest mountain, and it's a totally clear sky and it's totally dark, and all you can see is stars, and everywhere you look at stars, you say, "Oh my God, there's billions of stars." And every star, every star was an ego, every ego thinks of itself as the center of the universe. And so the ego is always projecting us a reality where it's the centerpiece. And so everything revolves around it and everything exists in relationship to it. Now, the ego is something we create when we enter into the game of time and space. So the buying into the story and it not working, it takes a while usually before we finally catch on that it's fooling us. And in the desperation, we hit a point of really praying for relief. We sense there is more. Being in a way, we know there's more, but we don't have the evidence of the more. But we ask and we pray, and then God hears all prayers. And so the opportunity to get past it is brought to us. You have plenty of tools to secure consciousness beyond the ego. It's just use those tools, even though the ego will protest and find 10,000 other things you could do that would be more interesting, more valuable, or more meaningful, or whatever the story is. But those things that help you have activation, like tonight, but I would say a spiritual exercise is first and foremost, and all the spiritual works. And it could be, walking on the beach, looking at the sunset, hearing beautiful music, all those things can give us that uplift. But I think the most direct uplift comes from that comes from beyond all this and is disseminated into this like a fishing line. When Christ would say he was a fisher of men, it's like we want to get that line. We want to hook. So we want to be open for the line. And when we get it, we want to grab on and be the fish and let it pull us up. And it will. But the game of the ego says, oh, no, you get there by climbing up, swimming up, creating all these things to get up there. That is the hidden meaning to the biblical story of Babel. The idea they tried to build a tower so great that you get all the way up to God. That is like a metaphorical story of the great path of becoming, that somehow we build ourselves up until we get to God. We get high enough, then we're with God. But there is no getting higher to get to God. You are always with God. What happens? You become more aware. You become more awake. You become more remembered. So laugh more and be very comfortable in not knowing, but just you have that call, honor that call inside. The call is to love, the call is to give, and the call is to really get outside the story. And just recognize it's just another story amongst all the other stories. When I was young, there was a show. They would always start the show. They said, there are 8 million stories in the naked city, and this is one of them. That dates me how old I am. But I know there's a few people on here know that. So just understand these are all just stories, mine, yours, or they're just stories. And God's a storyteller who likes a good story. So out of these stories, we'll learn. But what our soul takes from all of it is not all the things we think are important, the accomplishments and the gains, but the adulation. The soul takes out of each existence the learning. And the greatest learning the soul takes out of any existence is how it learned to be more able to choose into the loving in the face of all the distractions that would push on it to choose less than loving. And that is the mastery of this earth. God bless you, Karen. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close with a quick blessing, and thank you all for attending and participating. It's been my joy to share this with you. And dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity, for extending to us your blessings and this opportunity to come into the conscious knowing of the divine presence as it sings its song of love in and through all reality. We vibrate in resonance to it. And the sanctity it offers us, we receive. So thank you, dear Lord, for your gift. We open to receive and open to give, and ask that we may also be used to share this blessing, bring activation and awakening to all this planet and all the consciousness upon it, and to this universe itself, where there is nothing that is not you, and we know this, and so we surrender that you would use us to the awakening of all aspects and all consciousness in reality. Bless us, and thank you, dear Lord Jesus and John Roger, for your support in this action. We'll be here next Wednesday, 6:30, for another opportunity to come into remembrance. Amen. Thank you.
Love you, Michael.
Love you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, beloved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. God bless you.
God bless you,
Michael. God bless you.
Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
God bless you all.
Thank you,
Bless
Michael.
you,
Love you.
Michael.
Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you, Michael.
Love, love, love.
Thank you. God
I
bless.
receive.
Thank you.
Bless.
I receive. Thank you.
God bless.
everybody. God bless. Thank you,
Bless you
Michael.
all.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Michael.